Hello dear students, I am Dr. Zeba from the Department of Home Science, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. In today's session, we will continue our discussion on cost control methods 2. We will begin with an introduction to cost control, followed by its importance and guiding rules. After that, we will explore the steps and benefits of purchasing and then move on to the common purchasing practices. Finally, we will conclude with a discussion on storage management. Let us start by discussing cost control in food service operations. In food service operations, cost control is influenced by many factors. It is not just about menu pricing, it also depends on how we purchase, receive, issue, and store goods. Issuing refers to delivering food from storage to the kitchen as needed. Even kitchen waste and the quality of customer service can affect profits. To succeed, we must learn to manage and control each of these factors carefully. Now, let's focus on the importance of cost control. The food service business has a high failure rate because it deals with perishable and spoilable raw materials. Many failures happen due to high costs, not low sales. The goal of cost control is to keep production costs within planned limits without reducing quality or quantity. Let's think of the kitchen as a factory without proper control over purchasing, storage, production, or sales. Profitability tends to suffer quickly. Let's now look at some of the general rules of cost control that every food service operation requires. The food service operations require an effective food control system. Costs need to be controlled right from the point of purchase to the final sale. Since food products are highly prone to wastage, spoilage, and pilferage, strict measures must be taken to minimize losses. This means controlling purchase quality through clear specifications and proper receiving procedures, keeping stocks to a minimum and storing them on a FIFO, that is, first in first out basis, ensuring correct and accurate issuing, and following detailed recipes along with proper food production procedures. Management reporting must always be timely, accurate, and focused on identifying problem areas. For example, even a small rise in the cost of one ingredient can affect the cost of several products, but with timely reporting, corrective action can prevent profit loss. In food and beverage control, sales analysis is equally important. An increase in annual sales revenue may look good on paper, but it doesn't always reflect real performance. Inflation affects different items in different ways. So, higher revenue could simply be the result of price hikes, not more sales. That is why analyzing net sales is essential. It helps reveal if actual sales volume has dropped and allows management to take corrective action. Now let's look at the most important cost figure in any food service operation, the food and beverage cost. This shows the relationship between the cost of food and beverages consumed and the revenue earned from their sales. It can be calculated daily, weekly, or monthly. In smaller operations, daily consumption analysis is especially useful. Not only does it provide the food cost, but it also gives an accurate picture of any shortages. The next discussion is about standards and recipes. What are standards and recipes? The starting point of any cost control system is setting up proper standards and recipes. Detailed purchase specifications make sure that only the right quality of food items are used. Standard recipes then ensure consistency both in the quality of the product and in the portion size served. Moving on to the uniformity. It is a key element of food and beverage control, and it also plays a major role in long term guest satisfaction in a detailed cost control system. We compare actual food and beverage costs based on purchases and stock, with costs calculated from issues and with standard cost. Standard costs are worked out from the number of portions sold, the in house recipes, the raw materials used, and their correct market prices. This standard cost represents what the food cost should have been, and when we compare it with the actual cost, we can measure the efficiency of the operation. Another important aspect of cost control in any food service operation is the art of purchasing. It is more than simply buying products. It has a direct impact on cost control. To purchase smartly, we need to follow a few key steps. First, we need to prepare written specifications for all items. Next, we need to determine the quantities required. Then, we should assess current inventory levels and finally decide how much to purchase based on both existing stock and projected needs. Food service purchasing involves six important steps. First is to develop the order. Second is to get price quotes from vendors. Third is to select the vendor and place the order. After that, fourth is to receive and properly store the order. And fifth step is to evaluate the delivery and follow up on any errors if needed. The final step is to issue the products to the production team in the kitchen. Now let's look at the benefits of consistent purchasing procedures. Maintaining adequate stock at the lowest cost is essential in food service. This not only helps control expenses but also improves customer service, ensuring that menu items are always available. It is equally important to ensure high quality products at the best price. Tools like the USDA or United States Department of Agriculture grading system can help check quality and allow us to compare products effectively from different suppliers. Let's now discover the different types of products in food service. It is equally important to be acquainted with the four types of products. The first type is perishable foods like fruits, vegetables, meat, poultry, and seafood. They have a short shelf life, spoil easily, and should be bought in small quantities and stored properly. Second type is semi-perishable foods, which contain inhibitors that extend their shelf life, such as smoked fish, processed meats, and pickled vegetables. The third type is non-perishable foods like canned foods and flour. They have a long shelf life of up to 1 year. And the last type is non-edibles, which includes non-food items like cleaning supplies, and paper goods. Now, since we have learned about the different types of products in food service, let's move on to food specification. It is a written and detailed description of the products and supplies a food service operation needs. It acts as a quality control tool, ensuring that the exact items required are purchased and communicating clear expectations to vendors regarding both quantity and quality. Specification sheets are also commonly used for non perishable items. Typically, a specification includes the supplier's name, package size or quantity, the form of the item, and any cost or quality limitations. Food specifications include supplier name, package size, quantity, item count, form of item to purchase, cost and quality limitations. When determining how much to purchase, we need to start with the chef's expected usage for menu items and consider the sales cycle, which is the time between supply deliveries. Several factors affect purchasing decisions, including available storage space, the perishability of food, how the items will be used, and their cost. We should remember perishable and semi perishable items are expensive and spoil quickly. So it is important to avoid over ordering large quantities. Next, we will learn about common purchasing practices. Purchases can be made directly from vendors or through distributing companies that offer products from multiple vendors. There are two common purchasing methods. First is open market buying, where price quotes are obtained from several vendors and the choice is made based on price and delivery history. A vendor's formal price quote is called a bid, and this method is often used for perishable foods. And second is single source buying, where most products are purchased from one vendor, often with discounts offered for bulk purchases. The work doesn't end with just purchasing. Once the order is delivered, an important step in receiving is to check the purchase orders and invoices. We need to make sure that the items received match what is listed on the purchase order, which usually includes the type of product, quantity or weight, and sometimes the unit price and total cost. Also, we should confirm that the items on the invoice match what was actually delivered. Any discrepancies should be reported immediately to a supervisor or manager. A crucial part of purchasing is the physical inspection of goods. When goods are delivered, we should not accept them automatically. We should begin with a visual inspection. We should check that packages are intact, clean, and free from stains or water damage, and ensure there are no unusual odors. For food safety, we need to pay special attention to raw meat to prevent cross contamination and check temperatures using a thermometer placed between or under packages. Perishable items should be received at 41 Fahrenheit or below and frozen foods at 0 Fahrenheit or below. Any items that do not meet these quality or temperature standards should be rejected immediately. In addition to basic inspections, there are several other checks to perform when receiving goods. This is called product checking. We should look for signs of product tampering or mishandlings, improper storage such as thawed and refrozen items, ice crystals or stains, and any evidence of pest or rodent infestation. Also, we should check for dented, leaking, or misshapen cans. We must weigh the products to ensure they match the order and report any discrepancies to the manager immediately. Now, let us understand what is inventory control. Inventory control is essential for managing costs and ensuring the survival of a food service business. Inventory includes all items needed to operate, such as food, tableware, and equipment. A physical inventory is a complete list of all items on hand at a given time. In contrast, a perpetual inventory is continuously updated, tracking each item as it is received or used. Today, most facilities manage perpetual inventories using computer systems, though some still use inventory cards. Next is computerized POS and stock management. Computerized point of sale or POS systems are very useful in managing inventory. They automatically update stock as items are sold and show us instantly which products are plentiful and which need to be reordered. It is important to keep backup copies of all records off-site for safety. Effective stock management means balancing between too much and too little inventory. Par stock is the amount of product needed to cover the period between supply deliveries. Factors like shortages, delivery delays, weather, and costs can all affect it. Staple items such as coffee, sugar, and rice should always be kept on hand. Coming up next is taking inventory. It means counting food and supplies regularly and frequently. Each establishment sets its own standards, but there are some general guidelines to follow. First, all products need to be counted or weighed accurately. Next, the information needs to be recorded according to the establishment standards. Finally, the number should be reported to the supervisor. Let's now move on to the periodic ordering method. It is a method designed to help decide how much product should be purchased. The first step is to estimate how much of the product will be used over a given time period. Next is to review the stocks we currently have on hand and consider our production needs along with the par stock level. We can calculate the order amount with this formula given in the slide. Par stock plus production needs minus stock on hand equals the order amount. Let us also understand what is par stock. Par stock, more commonly known as a par level in inventory management, refers to the target amount of inventory a business aims to have on hand for a specific item after each restocking cycle. Par levels help businesses maintain sufficient stock to meet customer demand while minimizing excess inventory, which ties up capital and storage space. It is a critical concept in inventory management, especially in industries like hospitality and food service, ensuring smooth operations by preventing stockouts and waste. Now let's learn about storing and issuing goods. Perishable and semi-perishable goods must be stored immediately after receiving and updating inventory. All products before storing them properly should be labeled and dated. Some facilities use barcode systems to track inventory. A barcode, which consists of bars, spaces, and sometimes number, is scanned into a computer to monitor each item. items receive a barcode sticker upon delivery, allowing them to be tracked throughout the inventory system. Storeroom controls are essential to keep the goods fresh and safe for consumption. Efficient store management depends on good communication between the storekeeper and the user department. This ensures that the specific needs of each department are understood and met. At the same time, the smooth functioning of a storeroom also relies on proper and efficient organization of storage. Now let's look at how to organize a store effectively. The delivery date should always be stamped on each item before placing it on the shelves. One should follow the FIFO principle, that is first in first out. It means older stock goes in front and newer stock at the back. Prices are clearly marked for quick reference, which should be ensured. Shelves should be kept neat and organized. Nothing should be left on the floor. And finally, any opened packets must be transferred into airtight label containers to maintain freshness and hygiene. In addition to proper storage, the storeroom itself must be well organized. It should be well ventilated to reduce humidity, and cleanliness must be maintained to keep away rodents, insects, and pests. The storeroom should always be locked to safeguard commodities from pilferage. We need to remember that the goal is to increase shelf life while maintaining quality. And most importantly, there must be good communication between the storekeeper and user departments to meet specific needs effectively. Now let's look at storeroom records. Because food moves in and out so quickly, records are vital. First, the requisition slip, a request from the user department to the store in charge, usually submitted a day in advance for timely issues. Second, the order form, signed by an authorized person, should be submitted. In small units, it is the catering manager. In large ones, the purchasing manager. The next important record is the stock book. This book keeps track of all items received, issued, the stock in hand, and their monetary value. It helps the storekeeper maintain full accountability. Finally, we have the invoice. This is the bill that follows a delivery and is to be paid by the buyer. Together, these records ensure smooth operations, proper control, and transparency in the storeroom. And finally, waste should be minimized. Food waste directly translates into lost profit. Effective menu planning can reduce waste by using leftovers in other dishes, tracking daily food usage with a daily production report showing amounts used, sold, and leftover helps plan the next day's menu. Following the FIFO system by labeling, dating, and properly storing food, spoilage and cross contamination could be prevented, ensuring maximum use of all food products. That's all for today. Thank you for your attention.